So that's awesome. I see you perfectly now. Welcome to the True Love Secrets Revealed online summit. Today we have the privilege to have with us the most beautiful Kim Quick. Kim is a master life and relationship coach, and she has been helping women for over 12 years to create amazing relationships. Welcome, Kim, to our summit. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. It's a pleasure being here with you, and welcome to all the ladies out there listening and wanting to learn more about dating and relationships.
Yes, thank you. Yes, welcome, welcome. That's awesome. So, today we are going to be talking about a great subject. It's so important that we learn how to communicate, to create the results we want, to satisfy our needs as women. So, I know you are an expert on this subject, as many others, but that is the topic we are going to be unpacking today. So, how can we communicate as women to get our needs met? I know it's a big question that I'm throwing at you. So,
um, yeah, well, there's a lot of, well, of course, I find that communication is probably one of the top areas that we may think we know how we know how to communicate, but I see it time and time again that that's what causes a big breakdown in relationships. And men do want us to be honest. They do want us to speak our truth and to be ourselves. They really do want that. And it is how you're saying it that would be really important for you to share um, what you're feeling, what you're needing. And I always say, too, your feelings, having a healthy relationship to your feelings, um, that you're connected to your feelings. We don't judge our feelings. They're just observing what our feelings are the gateway to your needs. So first of all, you have to
mm,
figure out, well, what is it that I do need? Because you'll feel like frustrated, discouraged, sad, shut down, anger, resentment, all these feelings. You want to tune into them. And when you feel them, and that's a kind of a whole other topic about feeling these feelings in your body, but just even take a moment. Oh, you know what am I feeling right now? I feel anger or resentment, and what is it that I need? So
right,
that, well, maybe I need to be heard, or maybe I need flowers, or maybe I'm not liking where what's being said, this conversation, it's bothering me. And to share it in a way that actually can create a connection. It has you be vulnerable, more in your feminine, so, and to do it in a soft way so the man will hear you and want to fulfill on your need. And one of the top things to say is, this is what I'm observing. Like, I'm observing that, your or my experience is that this, I don't know, maybe you don't like something the man's saying, and you just say, well, what I'm experiencing right now is I'm not feeling safe, and I'm feeling, um, uncomfortable. And, it's really important to me that, as I'm getting to know you better, that you that we just, keep the conversation based upon keeping the sexual innuendos out. Because maybe some guy you're out in a couple dates and he's talking a little bit too fresh too soon.
right.
And so to create a boundary to say, hey, I'm feeling uncomfortable about this, and you know and I'm making a request here that, not that I don't like talking about sex, but it's a little too soon in the dating game to be having this conversation. And so that you set a boundary, and then you can see how the man responds to that, and that's going to tell you a lot about that person.
Right, right. I think that's why sometimes it can be scary because it's gonna tell us a lot. According how the guy reacts to that, it's gonna be, and make it or break it sometimes. Because a guy that makes us feel less than or inadequate for not being able, not being willing to go there yet. I love what you said, that you said it's too soon, or so you are not saying, no, I don't want to talk about that forever. It's just not yet. It's a little bit too early.
Yeah. And, you know, because especially that kind of topic, when we see a man talking about maybe sex too soon, and, I've had clients that just start laughing and ignore it and move
Right.
on, which that's not that's not healthy. Or you may get mad, and get reactive. um, you may not say anything, but you're like, I'm not going to date this guy again.
Right.
And and maybe it is a sign. It's a bad sign. But more importantly, and because it's good practice, because even when you get into a relationship, at one point down the road in the relationship, your partner is going to say something that you don't like.
Oh, yes.
And and how are you going to deal with it? Are you going to ignore it? Because how's somebody going to know that that's bothering you if you don't speak up? But I think what happens too, why we're afraid to speak up, is because from our childhood, our family origin of how communication was handled then. Maybe there was times you did speak up and there was consequences to speaking up. You might have got hit, you might have got yelled at. There might have been a reaction, and from your role models, and now we're afraid.
Right, right. Yeah, it reminds me of my situation. My dad used to, when I would speak up, my dad would tell me, "You should be a lawyer," as a bad thing, not as a good thing.
Yeah,
And
like
so,
he was judging you in a way, right? You
right,
felt
right.
judged.
But that doesn't have anything with us. I think it's important if you could unpack a little bit that is sometimes it's the incapacity of our date or our parents in that case that to deal with us. They didn't have the tools to really hold space and listen, hear us and be able to do something positive with that. So it's sometimes it's easier to just shut down or run away or so.
Yeah, that's true. Like, yeah, we're not here to bash our parents or anything, but
No,
you
no,
know, they
love
they
my dad.
didn't have the tools, they didn't have the space.
Right,
Um, they had their own beliefs, and didn't have communication skills
right,
to create that nurturing, open, most of our parents, right, safe space. I remember too, like, I was upset at my dad, um, because he really wasn't there for us when my parents got divorced, and he called me a bitch.
oh,
And so, but this all stuff happens subconscious. We're not really conscious of it until you start to dive more deeper into your own psyche, your own beliefs. But there was a part of me when I was dating that I didn't speak up. And time again, something was bothering me, because I think subconsciously I was going to get yelled at and be called a bitch,
right,
right? So, we all have had some form of experience that was overwhelming, and where we made it mean something about ourselves or other people inside of communication. All of us have some type of belief, and it keeps playing out subconsciously until you get to the root of that, and you can see, oh, okay, now I can see why there's a part of me, because you may know some skills, but you still find that you're not speaking up
Yeah.
because there's a part of you subconscious that is stopping you because of those fears and insecurities, and we don't want to experience those.
Yes, yes, for sure. So the key is, according to what I heard you saying, is to start to get in touch with our feelings. And
Mhm.
when we want something or we don't want something, it goes both ways. We just express how you feel and what we want. And we are
Yes.
entitled to that. It's our birthright to say that. And if anybody gives us a hard time for that, well, that's information. It's more information.
Yeah, I like that, Natalia, this, because we'll make it mean something, because people have their own triggers. Whoops, excuse me. People have their own triggers and wounds, and you may share something, and you may follow that protocol that I share, like, okay, these are my feelings. This is what's important to me. Would you be willing to do this? And someone may get triggered.
Mm,
That, and for you not to take that personally, because that's their stuff, that's their
right.
beliefs, their own wounds, they're getting triggered about something. And so there's a part of us that could have compassion, and so that's where there's this dance of, you know listening, great listening skills, trying to listen from a way that's not judging, and even when somebody's getting triggered. And that is one of the big things in relationships, because it's going to happen. So that's why I always say dating is such a great opportunity to, because we can get frustrated with the whole dating scene, right? I've been there. I was single up until I was 46 years old, never been married.
Oh, right.
And I
Last
probably,
year,
yeah.
Kim, you just met your husband.
What's that?
Last year, I'm saying you were single until you were 46. So I'm saying last year. It's just a
Oh,
joke.
well, I wish. I'm almost 60 now, but
Oh my God, you don't look your age at all.
oh, thank you. But yeah, I mean, I kind of joke about this. I probably dated, could have been the world's record for dating men. I think I dated over 200 men.
That's what I
um,
did. I did
you
too.
too, right? I didn't give up, but it was tough. It was tough to continue to meet these men that weren't treating me right, not treating
Mm,
me the way that I wanted to be treated. But I kept learning and growing, and that was the key. And I kept staying in the game. And the very thing that I learned, I mastered, was the very thing I still use in my relationship. I've been with my husband now for 12 years. We've been married for 8. And
congratulations.
yeah, so definitely what you can do, start to practice in dating, sharing how you feel and what you need, and making requests. And I'll tell you, that's going to be the number one criteria when you're looking for a man to spend the rest of your life with. How Looking at, how does he respond?
Right.
Is he will at least willing to listen? He may not fulfill your requests, but you definitely want somebody that honors that request, and being able to dance in the conversation and talk about things that are important to each other. If a man's not willing to do that, I definitely, that would be a deal breaker.
Absolutely. I agree with you.
I do a, what you call, a somatic exercise in being able to change your emotional states. A lot of times we can have, anxiety, even like in dating, there can be anxiousness, fears. Um,
Right.
Maybe, we just got over a breakup, right? Or even being ghosted sometimes. Like that can kind of just like, you thought you had this good rapport with somebody, you went out on a
Oh,
couple
yes.
dates, and then you don't hear from them. And that can really affect our self-esteem and our confidence. And so sometimes those those old wounds can come up. And so the method that I use is where you uh, feel these feelings in the body, because that's, where it was initially created in the body.
Mm,
And you know this because our chests will tighten, our stomach will feel sick when certain things happen, our shoulders. um,
right.
and sometimes just talking to ourselves to say, okay, be peaceful or let that go, doesn't always work. And so you have to get connected to where you're feeling that energy sensation of that emotion in the body. And when you give that attention, and you give it room to breathe, it actually ends up dissipating out on its own, and you feel more peaceful and more clarity.
Oh, wow. So it's about what I hear, it's about staying with the feeling, finding out where the feeling is located in the body. And do you
Hmm.
teach them to breathe? Is that through breathing exercises or is just an awareness? Well, just. I hate that word, just,
It's
and I hate it so much. Uh,
Yeah, it's a combination of using the breath and the awareness of the sensation.
right.
Because what happens is we do the opposite. We we don't like our feelings and our emotions. They're very uncomfortable and they're very overwhelming. So we try to ignore them and push them down. And we ignore them with a lot of different things, even like, of course the alcohol or TV, or some of us even work. Let me just
Right.
bury my head in my work so I don't have to feel these feelings. Um, we all have our vices that we're. So when you can just take some time to take a step back and, oh, you know what? I'm feeling sad right now.
Right.
And I feel this right here in my chest. And let me just be with this. I'm just going to be with it. And you keep being with it until it disappears. And because your body's been wanting you to give that attention, which
Right.
you couldn't give it when you were little. A lot of this stuff that's coming up where we feel, say, somebody ghosts us, right? It is an opportunity for growth, because when you're ghosted, you have these maybe feelings of abandonment come up, or feeling not good enough or valued. And a lot of that stems from things that happen in childhood.
Right.
And you had emotions and feelings at childhood with that, where your parents would say, stop crying, or stop crying, I'll give you something to cry about. You couldn't even feel your emotions. and and so now we're walking around, right? We're overwhelmed with them, we don't know what to do with them. But this gives you an opportunity. Hey, I have these feelings and I feel this in my body. And you're honoring
Right.
yourself, and you're loving yourself, and you're given the thing that you didn't get as a childhood. And it's very healing, and it provides peace, which we all could use.
Absolutely. Oh my goodness. I love it. I love it. So it's almost like you become your own parent as an adult. You are the one that gives you the space and holds space for you and
Mm,
reassures you that you're going to be okay. That's great. I love what
exactly.
you said that it's an opportunity for growth. I agree with that so much. I believe Uh, I mean, relationships, I am biased, of course, because I do this, but I think relationships are the most triggering area of our life. I mean, some people will disagree and say business sometimes is very triggering as well. You and I know that as business owners, business is not easy either. But I think
Mm-mm.
we really, really gather the courage or the inspiration to do the work in the area of relationships, our whole life flourishes. I like how you say in your bio that you said life and love. So how just to wrap it up, because we have 5 more minutes, so I don't want to keep you longer. I know you are busy. To wrap it up, how have you seen that? Is there a parallel between we do the work in our love life and our life in general gets better? How that happens?
Yeah, that's a good question. So, well, I'll use an example of a client that I worked with last year. A woman came to me who was divorced for 10 years, and she dabbled a little bit in dating and was struggling. And so the first thing what I do when I work with women is we do look at more of their, what were those beliefs that were
Mhm.
created at a very young age about yourself. And one of them was, she didn't feel nurtured and she didn't feel loved by her mom. And so, and that affected her confidence. It affected her confidence to be able to speak up for what she needed and not overstep things. And so, as we worked on that and healing that and creating, her to feel more valuable about herself and confident and learning communication skills, she started to have a deeper relationship with her son, because now she was able to apply that same thing, feeling more confident to speak up to her son. Her son was an older, a young adult, I guess, per se, but because she kind of felt, there's some things she overstepped in talking to him. Like one of the things, she felt fearful bringing a man home um, when she was dating someone, because her son lived there and it caused a lot of conflict. So she was able to have a conversation with him that changed that. She was also in her career was able to start, there's a part of her that felt fearful of sharing her opinion and her with her boss. And then she started sharing her opinion freely. So it's all connected, all, relationships with men, family,
Right,
career. It's that's how that that really happens, learning those new skills.
right. Yes, at the end of the day, we are not isolated. We are in a relationship with everything. We are in a symbiosis. That's beautiful. I know you have a gift for our audience. Would you mind, please, to share what the gift is and what it's about in a few words?
Yeah, so my gift is 5 steps to having a harmonized and fulfilling, long lasting relationship. And one of the steps, of course, is communication skills, um, learning really more deeply about yourself. And there's a few other little steps in there that are very key, like, even um, how do you fight? Because fighting, I do think, how do you have healthy fights per se? Because, like, well, a couple comes to me and says we never fight. That's a red flag, because you're not really sharing how you're avoiding conflict. So there's certain steps that are key ingredients and that you can use in dating, and use once you start, going deeper into your relationship, and maybe you're already in a relationship and you want to optimize it.
Oh, that's wonderful. Thank you so much. Thank you. The link is in your email and in the description box of this interview. There is anything else you would like to share that I didn't ask you that you feel like inspired to
And
share?
I would just say, to all the ladies out there, to not give up. The number one advice, because, and we can, and maybe we got to take a break, but like I said, I didn't find love until I was 46. I never been married. I ended up getting married for the first time at 51. So, if it can happen to me, it can happen to anybody. And I struggled too. So keep learning, keep growing, and stay in the game. That's the one of the big lessons.
Oh, I love it. I love it. So inspiring. Yes, don't give up. We can always take a break.
Woo!
We're not giving up. We are not quitters here. Thank you
Yes,
so much, Kim. It has been
it's
a
been a
pleasure.
pleasure. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you.